high water mark of my growing up in Columbus, Ohio was the night the bed fell on Father. It just so happened that he wanted to go upstairs to think and be away from it all. Mother opposed the notion strongly, saying that the heavy bed upstairs could fall, and that the heavy headboard could come down on Father and kill him. There was no dissuading him, however, and at 10:15, he closed the attic door and went up the narrow, twisting steps. We heard ominous creakings as he got into bed. Now, Grandfather, who usually stayed with us in the attic bed upstairs, had gone missing a few days earlier. On these occasions, he would return growling and out of temper with the news that the Federal Union was run by a passel of blockheads, and that the Army of the Potomac was not much better than a fiddler's biatch. We had with us staying at this time a nervous first cousin of mine named Briggs Beale. He believed that he would cease breathing while he was asleep. He felt that if he was not awakened at every hour of the night, he would die of suffocation. He was accustomed to setting an alarm clock at night to ring in intervals until morning, but I persuaded him to abandon this. Briggs slept in the same room as I did. I told him I was such a light sleeper that if anybody was to quit breathing in the same room as I, that I would wake instantly. He tested me the first night, of course, by holding his breath, which I knew he would. He held his breath until my regular breathing convinced him I was asleep. I was not asleep, however, and called to him. So this seemed to allay his fears a little, but he still took the precaution of taking a little glass bottle of camphor, setting it on a table near his bed. In case he was too far gone and we didn't get to him in time, he would grab that bottle of camphor and sniff it. And this was just a powerful reviver. Now, Briggs wasn't the only one in his family who had his crotchets. Old Aunt Melissa Beale, who could whistle like a man with two fingers in her mouth, well, you get the idea. She suffered under the premonition that she was going to die on South High Street because she'd been born on South High Street and got married on South High Street. And there was Aunt Sarah Schoaf, who never went to bed at night without a fear that a burglar was going to break in and blow chloroform under her bed door through a tube. Now, to avert this calamity, for she was in greater dread of anesthetics than of losing her household goods, she took her money, her valuables, and silverware, put them in a pile outside the door with a note that read, "This is all I have. Please take it and do not use your chloroform." But I'm straying from the remarkable events that took place the night the bed fell on Father. The layout of the rooms and the disposition of the occupants is important to the understanding of what later occurred. By midnight, we were all in bed. Now, underneath my father's attic bedroom was my mother and my brother Herman, who usually sang in his sleep, "Marching Through Georgia" or "Onward Christian Soldiers." Briggs and I were in a room adjacent to theirs. My brother Roy was in the room across the hall, and our bull terrier Rex slept in the hallway. Now, my bed was an old army cot, one of those which is made wide and comfortable enough only by putting up, even with the middle section, the two sideboards which usually hang down like a drop leaf table. When these sideboards are up, it is perilous to roll too close to the edge, for the bed is likely to tip over and come down crashing on someone with a tremendous noise. This is exactly what happened to me at 2 o'clock in the morning. It is the evening that mothers referred to as the night the bed fell on your father. Always a deep sleeper, slow to arouse, I liked Briggs. I was at first unconscious of when the heavy bed rolled me onto the floor and toppled over on me. It still left me warmly bundled and unhurt, for the bed nestled above me like a huge canopy. Hence, I did not wake up, only reached the edge of consciousness and went back. Mother, who heard the noise upstairs, thought that Father had indeed gotten caught under the bed. Her worst dread was realized. She therefore screamed, "Let's go to your poor father!" This scream, rather than the noise of the cot falling, woke up Herman in the same room with her. He thought that for some strange reason, Mother had become hysterical. "You're all right, Mama. You're all right," he said, trying to calm her. They exchanged shout for perhaps 10 seconds.
Let's go to your poor father.
"You're all right, Mama."
Your poor father!
All right, all right. This woke up Briggs. By this time, I was conscious in a vague way, but yet did not realize that I was under my bed instead of on it. Now Briggs, suffering, thinking that he was still losing his breath while he was sleeping, jumped up out of bed, ran for that bottle of camphor, grabbed it, instead of sniffing it, poured it all over himself. The room reeked of camphor. Choked Briggs under the deluge of pungent spirits. He jumped out of bed, ran toward an open window, came upon one that was closed. He broke the glass, and I could hear it trickling down to the alleyway below. It was at this juncture that I, in trying to get up, had this uneasy feeling of the bed on top of me. Foggy with sleep, I now suspected in my turn that the whole uproar was being made in an endeavor to extricate me from what must be an unheard of and perilous situation. I therefore screamed, "Get me out of this! Get me out of this! Get me out of this!" I had this nightmarish belief that I was trapped in a mine. Briggs, still choking, was no help at all. Now Mother, still shouting, followed by Herman still shouting, was still trying to open the attic door so they could go upstairs and get Father's body out from under the wreckage. The attic door was closed, however, and would not yield. The more noise that she made, the more confusing it was. Now, Roy and the dog were now up. One was shouting questions, the other barking. Now, Father, farthest away and heaviest sleeper of all, had heard the pounding on the attic door. He thought the house was on fire. "I'm coming, I'm coming," he moaned, for he was still sleepy and was not awake fully. Now Mother, still thinking that Father was trapped under the bed upstairs, took in his "I'm coming" the mournful, resigned note of one who's preparing to meet his Maker. She therefore screamed, "He's dying! He's dying!" Now Briggs yelled back at her, shouting, I'm all right, because he still felt that it was Mother who was worrying about him losing his breathing. I found at last the light switch to the room, unlocked the door, and Briggs and I met everybody at the attic door. The dog, who never did like Briggs, jumped for him, assuming that he was the culprit, whatever was going on. Roy had to grab the dog and hold him. Now, we finally heard Father crawling out of bed upstairs. Roy opened up the door with a mighty jerk. Father came down the stairs, sleepy and irritable, but safe and sound. Mother began to weep when she saw him.
Oh, Stanley! Stanley!
The dog began to howl. Father asked, what in the name of God is going on here? Well, the whole situation was finally put together like a giant jigsaw puzzle. Father caught a cold from crawling around in his bare feet, but there were no other bad results.
I'm glad,
said Mother, who always looked on the bright side of things,
that your grandfather wasn't here.